Hello together. This is a video explaining my process of thesis generation. What you will learn is what elements I am looking at on a chart and how I determine a thesis for a specific pair and if I want to put it on my shortlist or not. But first, this is not financial advice. Please read this in detail and be aware of it. So let's look at my process. The process contains four major steps. And as you see, the elements of these steps are pretty similar for the different time frames. My trading style, as most of you are aware of, is Stacey Burke Trading, and also an overlay of that multi-timeframe bias alignment. And this here molds together both of these elements. Stacey Burke Trading is fully contained in here, and multi-time frame bias helps additionally to identify the best setups. So how does this work? I'm starting on the monthly always, and you see for every time frame the process is the same. It's exactly the same points. So this looks relatively complex at a first view, the whole process, but in the end, it's a very quick thing, and I think I need not more than 5 or 10 minutes for every pair on the weekends, and during the week even less, to update it. So you will see, once you know exactly what you're looking for, it's a relatively quick thing to do this and to update it. So starting off on the monthly, we zoom out and look at the yearly template at least once a month, but I also do it once a week to really look, where are we within the year? Are we up high or down low? Where's the closing range of the last year, opening range, and so on, just to have the context in mind. Then the next thing, very specifically, I look at other time frame traders on the monthly. So is the monthly market out of balance? Did we close outside the previous month value area? And how are we trading currently within the current value area of the month? The next one is bias. I look at the monthly levels. So where is the last monthly level? Are we in breakout? Are we inside the last month? Or did we do a false break? Where is previous month's close? So I mark these relevant levels and just keep them on the chart. Then I'm looking at the signals on the monthly, the Stacey Burke signals. Are we overextended, reversing, or coiling? So the monthly signals, do we have 3 months of longs or shorts, first red month, first green month, or are we inside? I don't look at a 3-month cycle, for example. Then we do the same thing on the weekly. So for the weekly, we look at the monthly template. So are we up high or down low in the month? Where is closing range, opening range, and so on? Are other timeframes traders driving? So did we close outside previous week's value area? What's the bias? So where are the last weekly levels we hit? Are we still inside, in breakout, or false break? And again, Stacey Burke signals. Do we have 3 weeks of longs or short? First red week, first green week is a very important signal. Inside week, also strong, and just mark that stuff on the chart. Then we dive down to the daily. What's the weekly template? So are we up high or down low in the week? Again, closing range, opening range. Other time frame traders, did we close the day out of balance, previous day value area? What's the bias of the day? What's the last daily level hit? Are we inside previous day's range, in breakout, false break? And where is previous day close? Then the classic 3-day setup signals of Stacey Burke. Do we have 3 days of longs or shorts in the market? First red day, first green day, inside day, day 0, and also 3-day cycle is something I look at. It's not very predominant, but it's still interesting to see if we are in a day 2 or in a day 3. But this is also kind of covered with the bias. So here you also, once you are in a false break and pulling down, you are typically also in a day 2. So there is an overlap of the signals. Then for the day, of course, we also look at a 3-session setup. For the day, are we in 3 sessions of rise or drop? And are we in breakout or fake out of a previous session? So this is, of course, also important. So if once we determine the daily template and the potential setup for the day, it's again first the same questions. Daily template: are we up high or down low? 3 sessions of rise or drop. Do we have a peak formation, high or low? Is it coiling? So just judging the overall situation and setup. Then we look at the bias at the lower time frames, especially H8 is the first I'm looking at. So these H8 levels, which one is the last one we hit? Are we inside the previous H8? Are we in breakout or false break? And we really mark this level on the chart, and we always want to have this 8H especially in our back. Then we look at the quality of the setup. So here we start looking at the signals across the different time frames. So are these signals aligning? So we typically start with the daily, and then if we have a nice setup on the day, I don't go in detail now through the setups, of course, but let's say we have a breakdown day that's still inside the next day. So we typically look for continuation. So we had a signal on the daily, and then we check how is it aligning with the weekly and the monthly bias. So if we want to look for a breakdown continuation trade, for example, then we of course want to have the weekly and the monthly bias in our back, and also the other time frame traders driving in this direction. Looking at that, we determine the quality of the setup. So it's a 1, 2, or 3 star. So this determines, of course, how aggressively we are with our take profit and our stop loss, how long we hold, and so on. Then a last final check that I do typically. So liquidity check: where's the money? Who is in the money? Where's the next larger liquidity zones? Does this make sense? And then we, of course, think about the setup. Is it a pump and dump and pump, or are we in a parabolic setup? Then we, of course, put this on our shortlist. So this is the key decision to take. Do we want to have it on our shortlist or not? Then we mark especially the setup on the shortlist and the bias we have for the trade, and we think about what would be a confirmation for this specific setup. So this we drive through for all of the pairs in our basket. So if we, my heat map, these are the pairs I mainly look at. So we go through this process for each of the pairs and put in the result into this table. Why am I doing this? Because most of what we're doing, also according to Mike Bellafiore, as you're pretty aware of, is that we avoid doing stupid things. So it's always good to have this in front of you once you screen the pairs in your session. So you come up with a trading idea, you're watching that, and immediately during the day or during the session, you are able to check the overall plausibility of this setup, if all the signals are aligning, or if some signals are pointing in a different direction. Because, as you are aware of, the situation of the specific setups can change very quickly during a session. So if setup is invalidated and maybe a different setup is coming up after MRN, for example, is taking out a high or a low, or driving a pair into breakdown or anything, then we can quickly assess, is there an additional setup, or is it just confusing and we rather stay away from that. So this is my overall process theoretically. So let's look at an example. Maybe we look at NASDAQ for today. What I typically always do, zoom out is the first thing, and switch on the TPO chart. So I always start off with the monthly TPO chart. So here, for example, this is the first look I'm doing. So how are we trading within the last month's range, for example? So here we see the month closed in balance. actually right here for NASDAQ. After that, it traded here. So this was not a naked point of control, for example, because it still traded within that. Then we lost the level, traded down, and now we traded all the way to previous month value area low, found support here. Actually, to the end of the week today, it slammed into last month value area low. So this is now holding as support, and we are bouncing back up. Other than that, on the monthly, we don't see a lot. So we go to the levels for a moment, look at the last relevant levels. So the purple ones are my monthly levels. So we see we traded through these monthly breakout levels. So no, it's a fake out low actually. So we did a fake out low into last month, and now we lost this level again. So we are in monthly breakdown. So this is a red level we want to have on our charts, monthly breakdown level. Good. That's more or less it. No, looking at the month, we also have a first green month last month. This could be relevant. So maybe we could expect the whole thing to rotate up again. It's good to have it on the chart. No specific implications for our setups for the moment. Then let's look on the weekly. TPO first again. Here you see how we traded into the end of the month. We had a reversal mid-month last month, first red week into the end of the month, which played out last week heavily, as you see. It wasn't obvious from the start because it was not even out of balance, but then mid last week it blew off completely to the bottom. So you see here most of time and volume was down here, and we then lost this level. There was a naked point of control on the weekly, as you see here. I will do a video on this shortly. We just blew through this point of control, lost it, traded below it, and then traded even lower. But first, always most important for us is to look what's the situation of the trading compared to last month. So we closed out of balance. So we immediately mark out of balance on our chart, and previous week value area low. Now inside again, as you see. So we are careful with shorts as long as we above this value area low. That's interesting. Oh, important, of course. Then, not marked yet, we have a weekly naked point of control right here. Let's mark this together. Here, weekly naked point of control. That's a level that was not visited again after leaving the time frame. So we might expect a reaction there. It's at the moment not relevant because we are still in breakdown and far down. So we don't look at that really. What we again also see on the weekly is a row of single prints here. That means there is more or less a gap where price jumped over. So I typically mark this on the chart because this is very strong support and resistance levels and also magnets. So it's always nice to see how price reacts according to these levels. So this was the range. Then we look at the levels. Let's look at the weekly. So 2 weeks ago was here. So we had a breakdown last week. That's this level, most important weekly level on the chart, so the breakdown level. Then we traded back down, closed out of balance, as we already found out, and now are trading back up. So we have the breakdown level on the chart, and at the moment we are still inside of last week. So we still keep the bearish bias on the weekly. Other than that, we are in a new month. Closing range is here. First week broke down, so this is overall a bearish signal. And we also lost, as we already discussed, the monthly level here. So weekly and monthly are pretty bearish at the moment. On the other hand, we are trading into monthly value area low, so we are kind of in between levels with those. Then the next one I'm looking at is the day. So starting off with the TPO for the day, looking at how everything traded. So you see here a couple of overlapping value areas into Friday. Friday then lost this range. As we know, non-farm payrolls blew off to the bottom heavily. Interesting to see volume point of control is down here, time point of control up here. So this was, of course, because there was a lot of volume injection into non-farm payrolls, and price has been driven down with a lot of volume, so with a lot of strength into this range down here for the moment. We closed out of balance also on the day. So we mark previous day value area low. That's the blue line here for the day. At the moment, we are trading above it. So also weekly and um, daily value area low that is relevant for us, both now below us. So we don't want to short that here. So be a bit careful. At the other hand, we are still below the monthly breakdown level. And also below the daily breakdown level, which is up here. So daily range, we are inside the closing range of the week of last week. That's this day. We are inside the daily range, and we just entered the value area. So looking at the chart now on a lower time frame to finish that up. So we look at the daily levels. The last level hit was this one here, daily breakdown. Then we see here we traded, we left behind all these single prints, lost the monthly breakdown level, closed out of balance, and now we are trading back up again. So here we now know daily bias is also bearish. We don't have a signal day. First red day was already on Thursday. Breakout days were resetted here. So we have 1 days in breakout, so nothing there. Then we look at the setup of the day. We are obviously coming up strongly, so it could be a pump and dump. Looking at the 3 session setup, so 3 sessions of rise. Interestingly, then we mark the 8-hour and the 4-hour. So we have a 4-hour fake out high at the moment, and we have an 8-hour breakout. So now we have to be pretty careful. I wouldn't take a long on that for this day. For me, this is a nice pump and dump setup in a breakdown continuation. So what I'm doing then is take the short position and mark a potential trade, how I would be willing to take that. Of course, we don't have all the details yet, but in this case, for example, I wouldn't like to short above previous week value area high and previous day value area high. So I would place the entry here. Also, we want to have an 8H fake out, so we want to trade below that. So I typically would put this on the chart here. Maybe we make an alert on this level here, because before I'm probably not interested. Maybe if it comes up all the way and does a nice, maybe takes the single prints and makes a fake out of this level here and then 8H fake out high, then we might, in as anticipation of a reversal through this value area low levels, might take a short, but this is pretty aggressive. Normally I wait for the value area levels to be lost and take it from there. So this is more or less my end-to-end thinking process for a pair. Maybe we go one more time back to the heat map. There you see it. First green month we had. We are still inside the last month. Previous month broke down. We are on the weekly still inside in a breakdown situation, out of balance at the moment, in reversal up. Once we lose the previous week value area low, this is downtrend again. On the day we are inside last last day's range in a breakdown situation, out of balance close, reversing back up at the moment because we are above previous day value area high. So before taking a short, we want these two to turn downtrend and red. But still here, breakdown continuation as a trade idea, but watch value area lows for a potential entry. So this is the thesis, how I go into the session, and I scan exactly for my idea here. And as we get closer to a confirmation, I boil down my pairs always even further, and then go to entry criteria in the end. So as you're aware, you always have to scan all these bias levels, especially the daily and the 8 and 4 hours during the session, because this changes a lot. The other ones typically don't change that much, but this is something to look at very closely. So this is my process. I hope that was valuable for you, and you have a nice trading day today. Thank you.